All right, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. It is 3 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started with learning about Appspace, the underlying software that powers all of our digital signage here on campus. And my name's Zach Peterson. I'm the facilitator today for this webinar, and I'm joined today by Ian Aberle, who is our Appspace expert, and he's going to be showing you the basics of how to work within the system. So a few things real quick. If you do have any questions during this webinar, feel free to use the Q&A feature in the webinar software. It should be an icon in your Zoom webinar program. And feel free to answer, or feel free to send in questions. I'll be keeping watch of those and collecting those throughout this webinar. And then at the end, we'll cover all the questions that may come in. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Ian, and we're going to learn about Appspace.
Thank you, Zach. Hi, everybody. Ian Aberle with OIT. Today, we're going to be talking about Appspace, our new digital signage. Now, many of you have been using digital signage on campus for a while now. Even remember when it was called Nexus. This is the company's changed its name, and they've upgraded their software, and we've gone through some troubles trying to get it upgraded, but we've recently resolved most all of those and are now upgraded with the new system. And we're just going to take you through building out a application in it for your digital sign. So I want to start off today actually first by looking at creating content for your digital sign. And then we'll go into logging into the system, creating a basic application, then with using our PowerPoint slides, and then we'll create an advanced application. That one we can add things like RSS feeds, widgets, stuff like that, and we'll build one of those out too. And then we'll see about how to remove content, and then we'll wrap up with any questions you all might have. So to get started here, I'm just going to go ahead and go to PowerPoint. And one of the things when you, I know a lot of people are making their digital signs using PowerPoint. I've seen and visited you. I just want to make sure that when you create your PowerPoint presentation, that it is a widescreen presentation like this one. It should be 16 by 9, and that will fit the signs just perfectly. If you're still using an older version of PowerPoint, you'll have to change the layout from the default 4:3 to the wide setting, which is the 16 by 9. But yeah, you can just go ahead and create your slides. There's slide 1, and I'll go ahead and duplicate that quite easily. Now, I didn't say these were pretty slides. We're just making some slides here. And slide 2. And then you can easily get these files out to a file format that Appspace will understand. It will take in a PowerPoint presentation, but since there's nobody to actually click on the presentation, all it will do is stay on the first slide for as long as that layout plays. So what you want to do is go ahead and export your PowerPoint presentation into a JPEG or PNG image, and you can get to that from the export menu and change file type, and you'll see that we have two formats here, one for the PNG image and one for the JPEG. Depending on what the quality and what your content is, you'll want to, if you have a lot of photos or something like that, the JPEG will probably do better. The PNG will create a nicer looking file, but it will be a slight larger. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Then just say save as, and it'll ask me where I want to save it. I'll go ahead and save, and then it'll say which slides you want to do, and I'll just say all slides, and then they'll be saved out. I can then bring those into my PowerPoint presentation. So that's all we need for that one. If we're going to create something a little more fancy, Photoshop actually works very well for doing that. I have Photoshop open here. It's available for all the systems on campus through Landesk. You can just download it if you want to get a little more creative. Nice thing about Photoshop is when you create a new image, there is under the type for film and video, there is a default setting for HDTV which gives you the right dimensions, which are 920 by 1080 for your digital sign. So I can go ahead and click OK. I'm just going to go to my folder here where I have some photos, and I'm just going to drag in this one. You guys might have seen this. We were recently moved up the ranks to number 56 in the US rankings. So there's my photo there for a pretty beautiful campus. And what I want to do is just go ahead, I want to basically block out a portion of this that I will have my weather widget on or other content. So I'm going to just go ahead and darken that by going and choosing solid color. Black's perfect. Click OK. And then I will change it to multiply and drop the opacity. Now, you'll all be happy to know we are recording this, so if you're trying to keep up, you can just sit back and watch this back at any time later and then be able to review it. But as you can see, I've darkened out the left-hand side of the image. The right side is just nice and pretty. And then it's all kind of ready to have my weather widget overlaid on one side. And then what I want to do from here is I can do, in this new version of Photoshop, I can export it. There's a quick export as ping image. I just choose that, and it will save it right out as a ping image. And if I want to use the old Save for Web one, I kind of like that one because I have a little more control, like where it's saving to and the type of file format. I can just choose JPEG High, go ahead and hit Save. And I'm just going to call this weather background. And I'm going to save this into my demo folder. Save. All right. So that's just two ways we can create content here. Go ahead and minimize that. So as you can see here, I've already gone ahead and created some content and made it available for uploading into Appspace. I have a set of photos here, and then I also have my slides here, the 1, 2, 3, 4 slides here. So we're going to start off by going to Appspace and creating a basic application. There's two types of applications you can create in Appspace. One is the basic, and so if you're doing just like PowerPoint, you have one slide after another, there's nothing fancy about it. The basic is what you want to go with. If you want to add things like a weather widget or have multiple layouts so that you have a collection of things dealing with, say, the football game, and then other things about our career fair, and then another section of slides about registration, you can have all those kind of grouped together as different layouts. And that allows you a little more control and creative options, whereas the basic is literally slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4. To log in, we go to appspace.smu.edu. When you'll get there, you'll have a login like this. Now, to have permissions to log in the system, you have to be invited into Appspace, and what you'll get is when the help ticket's been put in, we'll add you, you'll get sent an invite, and then from that invite you can click the link and log in. The trick about this one system versus most every other system we use on campus is that you have to use SMU / before your ID number. We realize that it is kind of a pain, but after a while you get used to it. I'm just going to do SMU / my ID number, and then my SMU password. So that's one of the nice things about this upgrade. No longer do we have custom passwords for Appspace like we did before when it was digital signs. It uses your regular SMU ID and password, of course, with the caveat that you have the SMU / before your ID number. You can say remember me if this is not a shared computer and you just want to be able to easily access that. I'm just going to go ahead and click sign on. Make sure that I type in my password correctly. And there we go. All right, so what you see now is the dashboard. Mine is a little cluttered right now, but what I'm seeing is the dashboard for every sign on campus. And so what I want to do is I want to jump to my demo area. So if you happen to be administering signs on multiple networks, so say you have permissions to edit the Meadows Museum sign, but you also have permission to edit the signs in Humphrey Lee, you can navigate through those different networks by clicking on the icon, little person icon in the top right here, and then change your location. Most people will not have to do this, but I've set up a demo area that's nice and fresh to get started. There we go. As you can see right now, this is my recently updated apps here in this top section. Right now I have 0 apps, I have 0 widgets, I have my players, I have nothing signed to this. So this is basically a clean slate, except for my library is actually cluttered up by basically every application that's been updated recently. When we imported content, it all get dumped in my zone. So if you did see your sign, if you did have an application here, it would show up here under your signs and give you a little preview. But I'm going to go ahead and jump to our signs area. And this area, you'll see all the signs that are in operation, or the applications that are set up in your in your network. For us, we have nothing here. I'm just going to create a brand new sign. So I'm just going to click the plus here, and I'm going to call this basic demo. So we're creating the basic sign here. As you can see, we also have the option of advanced. The data only is used just by Appspace for special features, but for anything on campus right now, it's one of these two. So I'm going to click basic here, click OK. You'll set up the sign. It'll allow me to add content to this. So I just click the little plus to add my media. I can browse my library here. I have a bunch of files here in these different areas that I can set up and get to. Or I can just say, I'll just upload locally, select my files. Just get to my desktop. I'm going to do my slides here. I'm just going to select all 4 of those and click open. You'll see they'll get uploaded right here, ding, 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 and then they'll automatically be selected to be applied to that layout. There it is. Now, if I wanted to rearrange these, I can drag and drop them. Should have one more here. There we go. And one more. There we go. And that's a basic one. And so we'll go ahead and play through those slides, going from one slide to the next. And that's all you have to do for your digital sign. Very quick, very easy. Now, if you want to do something a little more flashy, that's when we do the advanced sign. So let's go ahead and go back to our signs menu. I'm just clicking on the little signs word here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new sign. I'm going to choose advanced, and I'm just going to call this one demo. And in this area, you'll have several options of templates to use, so you can actually choose something kind of pre-built. For me, I just tend to just start off with a blank landscape and go from there. I'm going to go ahead and click use this template. All right. So the overview basically shows you your preview of your sign. It tells you when the sign was last updated. I'll tell you when it was syncing, whether it's set up for syncs to your player. But to edit the content, you can just click the little edit tab right here, and you'll see your edit window. So we have our layouts. So these are all the different sections in our sign. It will basically play one layout and then go to the next layout and then go to the next layout. Then when it's done with that last layout, it'll come back and start back at the first one. Now, if you just have one layout and multiple slides showing up on that first layout, it'll just cycle through those and just continue indefinitely. So I'm going to go ahead and edit my first layout here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the visual editor. It'll bring up this window. This is our visual editor. You'll see we have options to add media. We have options to add widgets. We can actually rename our layout. So if you have multiple things, you can name each one of those layouts differently so that you don't have new layout and then new layout. You can just have different ones. So this one, like my example earlier, we had one for registration, we had one for football game, we had one for the other option, and so on down the line. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just change this to photos. And to add those photos that I showed you earlier, I click Add Media. And then I can click Upload Local and select my files. Now I'm going to stop here and let's talk a little bit about the library media. By default, if you just click Upload Local and choose Files, everything will be dumped into the unassigned area. Right now, everything that we've updated and stuff has shown up in this one spot. And so there's now, I think, something over like 1,200. There goes, keep counting. All the media files for all the signs that we've migrated are all kind of plopped there. Oh, getting up higher. So I kind of like to keep things a little organized. So I'm just going to keep my files here in the demo one. If I wanted to create a new library, I can go ahead and do that from my library tab. But I'm going to, but to do that, to upload to this area, you have to do it from the library tab, not from this upload local. So this is assuming that you've already have content in Appspace to apply. So to do that, I'm going to close this window. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And I can't see my, yeah, I got to maximize my window here or not. Oh, stay, hold on. Close that. Sorry, some of our navigation is for webinars covering up the interface. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. Okay, so the library is here under content. So I'm going to go to content, I'm going to go library. I'm going to upload all those photos and stuff that I had earlier. So I already have a demo folder here, but if you wanted to create a new folder, you just click the plus. And I'm going to say, call this one new demo. I'm going to click on that folder. And now I can go ahead and upload the files that I want. Now you see we have several options here. We can add the local files, which I showed you earlier. You can go ahead and create an area of rich text, so you can actually type directly into Appspace and use the editor there. You can add external content, and even add a web page. So if you wanted to have a live web page show up on your site, you can actually do that too. And we'll do that a little bit later. So for us, let's go ahead and upload those local files that we have already. Click that, select the files. I'm going to go back to my demo here, go to my folder and select all those. There we go. And then close window when they're all done. So as you can see, I have several shots of SMU here, and then I have the one for my weather background that we'll use a little bit later. All right, so I have all my files here, all nicely organized. You can even label them too. So if you wanted to click on that and tag that special one with, actually I'm gonna do, click this one, tag this one for widgets. So now I can search for all the ones that are tagged for widgets, and it'll automatically show those. All the untagged. All right. Now let's go back to our sign. So in my demo, I'm just going to click that, click on the Edit tab, go back to my layout. I can click the Edit or Visual Editor button here. And now I'm going to go ahead and add that media again. You'll see it automatically shows everything in my library here. But if I wanted to just go to my new demo folder, I can see these. So I'm going to select the ones that I want. I want that one. I want that one. I'm going to hold off on that one there, and I want that one. Those all seem kind of similar. Click Apply. And you can see right here, it's built out this new slideshow area on my layout. I'm going to rename that again to Photos and hit Save. And as soon as I hit Save, it'll load a preview of the slides in that layout. Now, what you'll notice is these are not necessarily cropped for the wide screen. So there's a gap here on the side that shows up, and that will show up with a black background color because of what I have set here. If you wanted them to fill the screen, if you click on Properties, you can tell it to be fill, and it'll fill up that space. Now we'll distort, some of them will distort, but I'm going to go back to uniform because I don't want to distort those images. I don't want to distort the beautiful campus. I can also, while I'm here though, if I go to the Content tab, I can also rearrange the slide order of these slides. So if I want this one up first and then that one second and then so on, I can rearrange those. I can even go ahead and turn them off so that they do not appear in the layout. Or I can replace or remove them just by clicking one of these buttons. If I click remove, it'll take it out. If I hit replace, I can then search for a different image and replace it with the new one. Like this, and click apply. Which of these ones is not like the other? So now you know that there's something different there. Go back to my appearance. I'm going to click apply and save. There we go. And so what I want to do is I'm just going to actually make this layout just a little bit bigger. I can actually drag these corners out so that I can get a good handle on that. There we go. And there. So now it's a little bit larger than the space, but now it will cycle through that area and keep it all in proportion, except for that one, which is a little bit cut tight. All right. So the next thing I want to do is save this. Then I can close this window. And there it goes. Click this window. And then I want to go ahead and create a new layout. So I said I wanted to go ahead and create one for adding a weather widget. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new layout. I'm going to call this weather. Click OK. I'm going to add media, and in this case, I'm going to add that slide that we created in Photoshop, which is this one here. Click apply. There we go. I'm just going to rename this area background. Hit save so I can see what I'm working with. There we go. Now, all the widgets can be added by clicking the Add Widget button here. And it'll pull up our selection of default default widgets. The most popular ones are automatically listed right here, but I'm going to go to see all my options for weather. So you can see we have several different types and looks and feel, depending on what you want. I'm going to go with the nice little 3-day local. I'm going to click that. Yes, I want to add that widget. It's going to place it. I'm going to bring it over onto this side here. And what I want to do then is click on the properties. The default location is New York, New York. That's not where we are. But if you wanted to show weather in different areas, you could by adding multiple. But I'm going to change this to 75275 if I can click there. Oh, quick add location. Sorry. 75275. Click apply. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the New York one. Then I want to go ahead and also change it from Celsius to the more common Fahrenheit here. There we go. You can also change the font color and the font that's used. I'm going to go ahead, since I have that black background, change it to white. And as font, I'm going to go with Century Gothic. I like that one a little bit better. All right. And we should be able to just hit apply. And then it will hit save. It'll refresh, as you can see there, with our current weather. Now, if you wanted to, you can add multiple too. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Widget again. I'm just going to add the clock. Yes, I want to add that widget. Bring that over here. I can put that right there. Click on Properties, and you can change some of the formatting there. I'm going to do double line, so it puts one on top of the other. I'm going to also change it to be centered. Again, I'm going to change the font, and I'm going to change the size for the date to be nice and large. Not that large. Let's see. Let's do the... There we go. And the one I actually want to make even larger is the one for the date, time, sorry. And you can also change what kind of numbering and stuff. Those are all options are all down here at the bottom. I'm going to go click on the time though and change that to be also Century Gothic and change the font. Let's make that a little bit larger. It's going to be kind of cut off here, but we can make that bigger in a second. And again, also center a line. Click apply. And drag this. There we go. Give it a little more space. Oops. Move that back where it was. Actually, I can set that to 0 and 0. Clock. That right there. Okay. Now, what's also nice is if you set up a couple of these background images like that, you can actually have the background cycle out. So if I click on my background and go to Properties, click on my Content tab, I can add more images. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one, and all these ones from earlier, just so you can see. Click Appearance and Apply. And save. And what you'll notice is that after a while, the images will cycle through. So you can actually have a very dynamic updating background with your clock there. Now we don't have the masked off area, and of course they're not scaled, cut off at a 16:9 ratio. The size, all your images you'd probably want to have are 920 by 1080. That's perfectly set up for our screens. So I want to probably go ahead and do all those in Photoshop like I did the first one, where it's nice and cropped and brought in, so it fits just perfectly. There you go. So there's the adding the media and adding the widgets, and go ahead and I can I've saved that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that window. Now, if I want to add, I can even add another one. I'm going to call this one Slides. Click OK. Click Add Media. Come back to my demo. Oh, you know what? Those are all in the unassigned. Let's see if they show up. It's probably going to be at the bottom. Still pulling them in. Hold on. So I'll click on Upload Local. It'll be a little faster. Just go ahead and choose those again. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. That's why it's actually, as you can see, that's probably the most perfect example of why you want to go ahead, upload your content to your media library first. Get them all nice and organized there so you can easily access them throughout your project. I'm going to go ahead and upload these, and then later on I'll delete these out. Click Apply. There's my new slideshow. Great. Go ahead and close that. Now, if I click on my preview tab over here, it'll actually kind of run through your slideshow, and you can kind of get a nice little preview of what it would look like on your player. You can even jump to a specific time. So if you have things like a schedule set up or something like that, you can jump to that and say, oh, this is what it's going to look like in 2 weeks at 3 p.m. and it'll render that for you. As you can see, this is what it would look like with the black bars on the side as it goes through. It's kind of being stretched for this window, but you kind of get the idea of what it would look like. Now, I've gone through, I've created this, and I'm now looking at this preview. I'm like, oh, you know what? That weather just doesn't show up at all with those slides changing out there. So let's go back and let's go ahead and remove some content now. So if I go back to my Edit tab, I'm going to click on my weather one. There's actually 2 ways I can get to where I want to go from here. I can click my visual editor, which will pull up that screen that we're very familiar with right here. But if I go ahead and close that, you'll see over here on the side, it shows my widgets. And this is why it's very helpful to name things so you can see quickly what's where. I have the media one with all my background images. If I click this, that'll automatically jump me to my background section where I can just easily click on content and remove what I want to get out. So in this case, I'm going to go remove, yes. Remove that one, yes, and remove. There we go. Click my appearance, I click apply. There we go. And then I can close my window. Now, the only downside about that is it will take a little bit longer for Appspace to recognize the change and update your sign. Your sign will actually get updated probably in about 30 to 60 seconds when you use the visual editor and you click the save button. As soon as you hit that save button, the server sends out a push to your display and uploads the new content. When you do just the apply, it sometimes takes a little bit longer. But if you wanted to force that, all you would have to do is just click the visual editor button here and then just click save, and it'll automatically force that change. But the nice thing is you can kind of go in, change a bunch of things, and then when you're ready to go ahead and push that change out, you can. All right. So we've gone ahead and created a basic slideshow with just our PowerPoint slides. We created this more advanced one where we have photos interchanging, weather, slides, and stuff like that. We've even deleted some slides. Now, what if we want to not show one of our layouts? Oh, you know what? That whole section here, you know, for our slides, the 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, we don't want that showing right now, but you know what? We're going to want that in 2 weeks again. Well, you can easily just click the little checkbox next to it and turn it off. That way you don't lose anything, and you can come back and turn that back on and enable it at any time. It'll be there and you'll be good to go. Another thing you can do, if I go back to my signs overview here and look at my sign library, I can actually create another sign that I want to roll out just for a certain event or a certain time. I can go ahead and build it out and get it ready and then switch it when I'm ready to go. So in this case, I want to click on create a new sign. I'll choose advanced and I'll call this one holiday. Click OK. I'll just choose the landscape again. This just shows the preview of what the template is. This has nothing, so you see nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and click use this template. And I'll hit edit. And I'll just click and add some content. And I'm going to actually take advantage of these tags. So I have this huge library of 2,000, probably 2,000 images now. You'll see that some of them are tagged, and I can actually find the tags that I want. And let's see, I think I actually, it's Hawaiian Bowl, Lulu. Fortunately, these don't seem to be in any kind of order whatsoever. It'd be nice if they're at least alphabetical, but I'm going to click, oh, let's just click night, see what we pull up. And there we go. Oh, there's one. And I click apply and got that in there. Now, what you'll see is it's bringing it in at its default size here onto this layout. This is a little bit larger than the space, so I'm going to go ahead and I can manually type in the 1920 by 1080, and that will force it to fit onto the screen, and click save. There we go. So there's that night photo. I'm going to go ahead and close that and go back to my signs. So holidays come around, I'm ready to use that one. I can then, I will be able to switch to that from the one I'm currently on. Now, for me to show you this, I'm going to have to switch to a different section because there's actually in this demo section no actual physical players or digital signs actually set up. So I'm going to choose an area where I can change something, and I know OIT has plenty of signs to play with. So I'm going to play with the one at the help desk here. And currently right now, I know what's playing is this SMU default here. And if I click to the players on this one that's playing, you'll see this is the player that's displaying behind the help desk. So if I click this, it'll show me all the information about this player. It shows me what the selected application is, what my preview is set to, where the location in the Appspace network is. and what kind of syncing modes and the IP addresses and all that. But if I wanted to change to a different sign, I'm going to change it to the student help desk one, and then come down. I'm going to have to maximize this window so I can see my save button. There we go. Save that. There we go. What you'll see is that the player here now shows nothing, because I've basically gone and said for that sign, I've switched what that player is looking for. So it's no longer being seen in here. But if I go back to my sign library and go to student help desk and click on my players, you'll see that this now is associated with that. So what should be playing right there on, if we look at the preview here, this is what should be showing out on the digital sign. Now what this is a rough rendering, and it, to be honest, is not totally accurate as how it displays on the screen. So it is kind of helpful sometimes to just take your laptop, if you're doing a lot of interesting stuff, to just sit there right there at the screen and make those changes. All right, I just want to go ahead and set this back to where it was. Click on this player, change this back to the SMU default one that was on. Can I get, yeah, still can't get to that button. There it is, save. All right, put everything back the way it was. Okay, so I'm looking at the time here. I think we have some time for a question or two. Zach, do we have any questions from our audience?
Yes, we certainly do. We have a few questions, and thank you all so much for giving us some of these questions. The first one was, can we change the password for just the Appspace account without changing the SMU account password?
No, it's tied directly to your SMU account, and so when you change your SMU password, it will change your Appspace password.
Okay.
So if you're managing a digital sign, do not give anybody your ID and password, because then they'll be able to access all of your other accounts, including your mail, your computer, and so it's not very secure. So if they need to have access to that, we can go ahead and you can put in a help ticket, and we can get that person access to the digital sign. We can also restrict them out of access too. So if they need to be able just to add content but not create a new sign, we can actually set that up too.
All right, great. And the next one, is a sign the same as a layout? Because I know some of that was used quite a bit. What can that be used interchangeably or no?
So on the basic demo one, the layout is just that one slide. It's just the default layout for that. But if you're actually on one of your digital signs, no, there are multiple layouts within a sign. So in this case, I have 3 different layouts. I have my photos, my weather, and that slides layout. But what I've seen from a lot of people on campus is actually they only use the one layout, and from there they do have say 40 different slides in that one layout. So you can actually stack the content as you saw.
Okay, great. And we still have a few more. We're getting more in, and thank you so much, everybody, for putting those in. The next question is, so if the images have to be 1920 by 1080, she notes that there's still some strips on the side in the editor there. I noticed that too. So, so why are those still there, even though it's 1920 by 1080?
Okay, so on so on like this one's 1920 by 1080. Let me go ahead and change that to 1920 by 1080, like we talked about. Oops, not 1080. There we go. And I'll set that to the left to be 0 and the right to be 0. Now what you'll see is these little handlebar icons allows you to scale dynamically the sides and stuff. So this gray pattern here, this is the transparency. And in this case, the SMU photos are not, the original photos are not scaled to be that 16:9 ratio. This one that's showing right now was already cropped at that ratio, so that's why it fills up the entire space. But if it is not cropped to be the exact ratio, yes, you'll get the bars at the side.
Okay, great. Let's see, what's the next one we have? This is a really cool one, actually. What about websites, putting a website in as the slide? And also, is it possible, this is really cool, to have maybe a live Instagram feed by a hashtag or something like that? Would that be possible?
So yeah, so that's two separate. We'll go with two separate ones for that. So yes, we can go ahead and we can add a live. Let me go ahead and save. Oops, stay and save. We can go ahead and add a live web page onto our site. And by doing that, let me go quickly to my library here, and just so I can go to my demo folder so I have it nicely organized, I'm going to click the add new content and choose add web page, and in this case I'm going to call it SMU, and under the edit, this is where you will put in the URL for that web page. So in this case, http ://smu.edu. Go ahead and test it. Yep, that's the right page. Oh, and I closed it without saving it. So let's try that again. There we go. Test, apply. And there's my web page that I can now add to my layout. Instagram, so if you wanted to add an Instagram page, you could do that too, but there requires that authentication, and there is that little checkbox for that. But there are some third-party software or websites that actually will bring in your web content from like a hashtag and assemble it for you as a web page that you can then kind of peruse and add, and it also allows you to restrict stuff too. You'll have to search for those. I know the Athletics uses one of those for some of the stuff with game days and stuff like that. But yes, those are available. I think it's called something like Postino or something like that. I'll have to check, and I'll share that with everybody on the Appspace the digital science list later. But let's go back to our signs real quick. And if I click back on my demo, I'm going to create just a new layout. And I'm going to call this one web page. Click OK. Click Add Media. I can choose my new demo folder, which opening, oh, there was already there. Click that one, click apply. And 1920 by 1080. There we go. Get it to fill up the page, hit save. And I think what it does is it'll bring up, it shows the mobile version of the site, but it'll take a little bit while for it to go ahead and download the information, but then that it should show up right here in this spot. And so that's how you do that. So the one thing too is we've done this before with the Bush dedications and some other things on campus. The one thing if you're trying to pull in some live video or something like that, doing it through that way. Also, just remember the digital signs are set up to have no audio. So just something to keep in mind. Any other questions?
Yes, we do. And for those of you that are wondering when your question's going to get answered, I'm just answering them in the order that they were received here in my list. So don't worry, we'll get to your question here shortly. So one confirmation here. So whenever you click that save button in the editor there, that is the more instant way of updating your player, correct? It takes
Correct.
30 to 60 seconds. And so do you no longer have to manually sync the server with the player?
They all should be set up as we're rolling these out, should all be set to automatically sync with the server. So As soon as that save is done, the server sends a push notification to the player PC, and it pulls in that new content and should display it, like I said, in about 30 to 60 seconds.
Great. Okay. And one person, so if you could just real quick go back over how to change the players, just really briefly, just because that can be a little tricky there. So
yeah. So what I find, there is a player section, and I'm not sure everybody can see it, so I'm just showing through one that's applied. But let me go back to the OIT's player. So, and sometimes people don't know, to be honest, don't know what the name of their player is either. So, but you happen to know, I'm always doing my editing on this one. I know I've recently updated it. This is the one, this is from the preview. I can see this is what's showing up on my display. I know this is it. But to change it, if you click on the Players tab, you can then, there's the name of your player, there's the application. So, and you can see the sync mode, back to the previous question, is set to automatic. So it automatically will update with changes. If I click this, I can then, under selected application, then pull down and choose what the new application I want to show. And once I select that, I will then just hit the save button, and the change will apply in about 30 to 60 seconds, depending on the amount of content.
okay, great. And again, if you ever want a refresher on that, feel free to come back to our website. We are going to have this webinar uploaded, so you'll be able to refer back to it. Another question. So we're running a little short of time, so I'm going to try to get through these as quick as possible. But is there a test domain for signs? And there's another question that's somewhat related to that. If the manual sync is gone, what's the best way to test your layouts? Because sometimes they may want to test them out before they update their publicly visible player.
Oh, so that's a good question. So no, the answer to the first one, no, there isn't a sandbox area where they can kind of play. But if they wanted to test out their layout, if they created a new layout and they want to just kind of see how it looks in the on the screen and stuff, they can just go ahead and turn it off, and then edit that area. So if I go back to my slides here, I can still come in here, check out the layout, and kind of view in this preview mode here and see how it's going to look before taking it live. And then when I'm ready for this to show up live, I would save it and then click the checkbox next to here, and it will refresh and show up.
Okay. And also, so I've heard you say call these all signs. Were they called applications in the old version?
So Nexus is kind of muddled their things. So in one area they are called applications, and another area they're called signs. So I tend to use both of those interchangeably. But yes, unfortunately, as you can see, there's signs here, but when we were looking in the player, it showed up under application. Okay. So that's why I'm using the two terms.
Okay. And two more brief questions. So whenever you're typing in a URL for the website, if you want to put a website on your sign, do you have to put the HTTP : / before?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the easiest thing is just to pull up the web page, go to the address bar up at the top, and just copy that out and then paste it in. You don't have to manually type it.
Okay. And then the last question I have in this list, how do we know when or how our digital signs will switch over to the new update?
So the majority of the campus has been switched over, except for just a few areas. There are some a couple of signs, I think, in Cox that we're having problems with their version of Landesk on the player PC. So those didn't get migrated over. Our tech is working on those right now to try to get those over, but those should be over this week. And then there are some signs that were, and this was the biggest issue that we had, that were using scheduling, which we haven't talked about and basically don't have time to go into here, that allowed you to basically schedule those layouts and stuff in Appspace, those ones would not import. We could bring in the content, but it would not bring in the application or any of the layouts. And so those are going to have to be recreated from scratch. So we've reached out to those two groups and let them know that this is what's happening, and for them to go ahead and start building out a new application. And then when they're ready to make the switch over, just send us a help ticket and we'll get those switches made. But the majority of all the basic signage should be moved over by now.
Perfect. Okay. And
sorry to interrupt. And if it has not, please put in just contact the help desk at 214-768-HELP, or email help@smu.edu, and let them know, and we can get them that information.
Perfect. So that does about wrap it up for today. And one of the last questions I got was, how do we get help in the future? And I'll be happy to answer that. Again, you can call the help desk at 214-768-4357, or you can send an email to help@smu.edu, and that will automatically create a help desk ticket for you. So if you ever have any issues with Appspace working with your digital displays, please let us know, and through those channels, and we'd be more than happy to get everything working the way you want it. So that does conclude this webinar. I'm so glad all of you have decided to show up and learn more about this really great service, and just let us know if you need anything else. Thank you so much, and have a great one.
Thank you, everybody.